And hello, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Zone TV Movie Entertainment with me, your host Jonathan, once again bringing you my thoughts and review for tonight's episode of Star Wars' Andor Season 2, Episode 5. That's right, continuing the new tradition, I guess, was just for this show, 3 episodes per week, which is incredible. This is episode 5, folks, so buckle up and let's talk about it. Spoilers ahead if you have not caught up to this yet or started season 2 at all. So, okay, we all know that right now the Rebels and the Empire are like playing a game of chess on like who can outdo who, right? Okay, so we all see that. We have Cassian, going to, I guess, the Resistance, who are the ones who are spying on the Empire and figuring why they're building such a big tower, putting a whole bunch of arms there, and questioning all that. They put in home devices inside offices of the Empire. Particularly Skyer, I believe that's his name. Probably butchered it. Apologize. Including his office, and he's got his his FBI showing up. The FBI of the Empire, the IRA, I think it is. Anyway, they show up and they're like, yeah, we found out that there's a bug here and somebody's a traitor. We're gonna have to start interviewing everybody, and they like literally clear out his entire office. Like everybody in his office gets questioned and figure out like who put the bug there, and even the people who put it there, they had to like unplug their stuff really quick just in case they can find a way to trace it back to them. Cassian shows up to the people who are doing the spying, and it's like pretends to be like an arc guy, and he's like, hey, I can help you, we can help each other out with this whole thing, but you got to be careful because you guys could get caught and ruin the plan overall for everybody. While that's happening, you have the Empire side of this, and they kind of already figure out that these guys already are at the point of like, oh, they're coming after us, so we need to prepare. And one thing that's there is Syra. I keep butchering his name. It's hard to pronounce his name. He insists that he's pretending to work with the Resistance and helping them out, pretending to be one of them, but is also giving back intel to his his fellow Empire, and giving them the information that he's been learning from them, so that way they be one step ahead of them or 2 steps ahead. But when you look at it like that, you also got to question, is he going to turn? Because how many times have we seen people in the Empire turn on their own kind in a way, go for the Resistance, and then they end up getting killed? So there is a good chance he could be spying on the Rebels here for the Empire, but then realizing, yeah, the Empire's doing some shady stuff, because there's even some people in his own organization questioning the Emperor, and they're trying to do their own thing and keeping a close eye on the Emperor and themselves. Why? Well, who knows? Remember, the Emperor is always like 6,000 steps ahead of everybody. Only select people from his camp know what the heck is going on, really. Like I said, this all builds up into the resurrection of the Death Star. Remember, a lot of people don't really still have, even in the Empire, they don't even know at this point. This is 4 years before before Rogue One. This leads into it. The Empire a lot of the Empire doesn't know about the Death Star. Only a certain group of people do, which is the Emperor, obviously, Darth Vader, duh, and of course Tarkin as well. Tarkin is out there. He knows. I think Krennic knows too, but I'm not 100% sure. He might know yet. I can't remember if he knows. He knew before the Rogue One movie or after, or before. It's really tricky for him, but I'm not sure. I think Krennic does know. I would assume he does, because there are moments in Rogue One he's arguing with Darth Vader a lot, so I would assume. But Darth Vader, Tarkin obviously knows. Yeah, those are like the higher ups. They know, and when you have how can I say this? When you have like a corporation and like the big bosses are doing something shady, and the lower tier company men are like, what the heck is going on? And they may try to do like a force force out, or they try to like do like a buyout, or what I think it's called a buyout. And then they try to do that, but then the big boss is like, yeah, I have more power than you guys because I control like 50% of the company or whatever the heck it is. I feel like it's kind of like that, where the emperor himself, he has so much control that not even his lower tier men know, and they're high up, but to him, they're lower tier. I remember in the Empire, Dark Vader and Tarkin are the top guys, besides the Emperor. He's the final boss. Then you have Tarkin, who's the boss, and of course Vader, who's the boss of the boss. So yeah, it's kind of like a corporation in a way, if you want to look at it. But yeah, there's some people in the Empire that they don't even know what's going on, and I'm pretty sure they don't know about the Death Star stuff yet. Because why would they? Why would they? Because once the Emperor brings out the Death Star and it's all officially complete and all the plans are ready to go, then everybody will know, celebrate, do what they have to do. And it all has to do with those spiders. If you look at the spiders, they keep bringing up the spiders, and then there's a shot in this episode that show one of the spiders, and you can see I guess the body of the spider. It looks more like a crystal than an actual spider. So that could be the source that either helps power up the Death Star or something that helps the Death Star do something. Maybe the laser cannon itself. Not 100% sure. Maybe I missed that part, but that's my guess. But, they keep going back to the spiders, so, there's that. But like I said, I do love the fact that everybody here is playing, games. You even got Saul Guerrera, Forrest Whitaker. He shows up and does his thing. He's got a traitor in his camp. And, it was his main engineer, and he's got some, like, hacking machine that kind of looks like an arm of a droid. You know how R2-D2 will hack, systems kind of a thing. So he's got that to try to do some mining. And then if he finds out one of his guys is a traitor, whacks him. And he's like, oh, yeah, he's been communicating with the Emperor. And the guy who's supposed to be teaching him how to be the hacker, a better hacker, he becomes, like, his main hacker. So I thought that was pretty cool. And Saw Gerrera, he's just kind of nuts in the head, so there's that. Excuse me. Anyway, so this was a pretty interesting episode. I think this is a little bit more better than episode 4 was, in my opinion, but I really did like that, because it just shows that everybody here could be a spy for a spy. You have spies on the rebel side trying to spy on the empire. You have spies in the Empire trying to spy on the rebels. The rebels, they want to move into these arsenals and get these weapons that that the Empire might have, and now the Empire knows about it, and they want to find a way to try to trap them or let them win, so that way next time they try to do it, they like, oh yeah, we did it, they had no idea we did this. They go in for the attack again, they get caught, and then they can get destroyed. So that's always like a divide and conquer kind of a situation. You let your enemy win the first round, and then the second round, you clearly take them out like that. So I thought that was pretty interesting, especially coming from Cyra's wife. She was like, oh yeah, we should just let them, do what they got to do. Let them do what they're going to do. That way they'd be vulnerable for the next time. So that was pretty interesting on her part, saying that. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe her husband does turn and go to the good side, and then she whacks him at the end of this, because who knows? Or maybe she ends up going with them, and then they both get taken out. It's a possibility, but we have to wait and see what happens. But, we'll see what happens in the next episode. So leave me a comment below. Let me know. Stay tuned for more. Thank you very much, and have a good night.